welcome, Christina. We're so glad to have you with us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, of course. So we recommend Pendulum products to all of our patients. And so we would just love to share a little bit more.
And we personally take it ourselves too.
Yes, that's true. So would love to just kind of get started by talking about Pendulum and how the company came around and what the mission is.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're a probiotic company, a little different from what has been out there existing in the realm of probiotics. So Pendulum Therapeutics was founded by a group of scientists. So they're all PhDs. They have a background in DNA sequencing, which is way over my head. But they started looking at some really unique strains, probably 20 years ago, and found a really interesting strain called Akkermansia, which is not new to the human gut microbiome, but it was just discovered in 2004. So our scientists started looking at it and noticing that it had just some really incredible benefits for human health, and had the idea to bring it to the marketplace, right? Like make it available for people that maybe didn't have Akkermansia. And then the challenge became, well, it's a strict anaerobic bacteria that lives in the colon. So anaerobes can't be exposed to oxygen. So a single molecule of oxygen will destroy Akkermansia. So the challenge became, well, how do we grow this, right? Like there's oxygen all around us. How do we do this? And initially they were sending Akkermansia off to other labs to have it grown, and everything that they were getting back was coming back dead. So the technology didn't exist. No one had ever done this before. So they quickly realized that if we're going to do this, if we're going to bring a live Akkermansia probiotic to this space, to this industry, we're going to have to do it ourselves. And we're going to have to invent this new technology to manufacture these strains, which is exactly what they did. So sometimes people will, they'll look at the price of our products and say like, oh, well, this is just too expensive. Like I don't pay this for my other probiotics. And that's fair. But to be honest, this, technology didn't exist before Pendulum came along. And we've made great strides to lower the cost of our products. We just did that recently in January, something that we're really proud of, because we've gotten better at making these strains. But, truth be told, it's not easy, and it hasn't been easy. So, yeah.
It's fascinating.
That's excellent. Yeah.
That Akkermansia's got a lot of history with the blue zone people that, with their higher concentrations of Akkermansia in the gut of the blue zone people, the people that live over 100, up to 100 higher concentrations of communities. So it's really nice.
Yeah. And it's one of these organisms that the thing that's most fascinating to me, so my early career was in the NICU, so I'm just obsessed with all things neonatal and pregnancy and, the birthing process and human milk. That's really where I started to get interested in the human gut microbiome. And Akkermansia is, because it's an anaerobe, it's not one that is available in the environment. So you're not going to get Akkermansia from playing in the dirt or, consuming some fermented foods. It's just not possible. But the only food that it's ever been isolated in is breast milk. So it's found in the guts of breastfed infants, but it's one of those strains that last, or is supposed to last, through all life stages. Because like you mentioned, we have these really healthy centenarians, people who clearly have longevity on their side, and they have high levels of Akkermansia in the gut. So it's one that I think is critically important to this gut microbiome ecosystem. And when it's not there, I think you can really see the negative downstream effect.
Right. Yeah. It's really important for gut integrity, for that. So everyone has heard of leaky gut before. So those are the benefits of having that type of strain. But yeah, that's fascinating. I didn't realize some of that history there. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. But yeah, I guess tell us the basic products. What does Pendulum have product wise? We've talked a lot about Akkermansia. That's a very, very important one. But other products, what others do we have?
Yeah, and the company is, and this is as a dietitian, I'm trained as a dietitian, and so when I first started hearing and learning about Pendulum, the thing that drew me was their innovation, of course, but then also their dedication to clinical research, right? Like it was an easy thing for me, for my brain to make that leap, a new supplement. I'm always a little skeptical, right?
Right.
Like,
All right. A
really?
lot of that out there.
Yeah, and so if I'm, I always I have to look at the research, and Pendulum had research. And so that was something that really attracted me and still continues to inspire me, because we're, not stopping with our first clinical trial, but we're continuing to research in these areas and these new novel strains and continuing to research Akkermansia. So all that to say, Pendulum Glucose Control was our first product that we brought to the marketplace. So it's our flagship, it's our baby, it's our everything. And we did a double-blind randomized placebo-controlled trial on this particular product. It's a 5-strain formulation. And for those of you that don't know, a double-blind randomized placebo-controlled trial is the gold standard for a clinical study. And we, like you mentioned, we knew that Akkermansia had these incredible benefits as far as helping the gut to heal, but it also showed promising results in the metabolic space. And so Pendulum Glucose Control that contains high levels of Akkermansia was actually studied in diabetes. So type 2 diabetics, and we wanted to see, can we affect long-term glucose? So looking at, 3 months out, so looking at your A1C. And then can we also affect, your short-term glucose spikes that you may see after a meal? So that's called your postprandial glucose spike. So that's your blood sugar, what your blood sugar does after you eat a meal. And what we found was after 90 days, so these patients were on the product for a 3-month period of time, there were no dietary or lifestyle interventions. So we didn't want them to change their diets. We didn't want them to go from, eating a horrible diet to now all of a sudden being healthy. Or if you're a healthy eater, just stay a healthy eater. Don't do anything. If you're exercise, then continue exercising. If you don't exercise, don't start.
Don't.
So, and after 90 days, we saw that the people that were taking the glucose control, they saw a 0.6 drop in their A1C. And that may not sound like very much, but it actually is enough to take a diabetic down to a pre-diabetic. And it's enough to take a pre-diabetic to not being pre-diabetic any longer. So that was significant. It's also comparable to the results you're able to achieve from metformin, which is a standard medication, when people are newly diagnosed with type 2. Their range for lowering A1C is 0.7 to 1.2. So we were really close to being able to achieve that with a natural product. And then as far as the after meal glucose spikes, we were able to lower those in these patients by 33%. And that actually outperforms metformin. Yeah, metformin can usually get around 20%. And so it's incredible. We're all dietitians on the healthcare side of the Pendulum team. And we have, some of us wear continuous glucose monitors, and we have pictures of data, glucose control, or cheesecake at night without glucose control, cheesecake at night with glucose control. And there is a significant difference.
Is there really? That's great.
It really is. Yeah. So, my message to people is, if you're wanting to, if you find
Like
yourself,
cheesecake.
yeah. If you like cheesecake, number one, but if you find yourself in that sort of challenged metabolic state and you're thinking about glucose control, it's always fun to wear a continuous glucose monitor, and then you can really see the results in real time.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that's amazing.
Yeah, as a result, obviously that increases your insulin sensitivity for other individuals maybe that don't understand that. So
Yep.
yeah, that's an important part.
And what was the dosing on that was it like taking it with each meal, or is for that particular study, what was the dosing?
Yep. It's twice a day with food. So in the study, I think they did like a morning and an evening. I think that is challenging for people sometimes. So a lot of people I know just take 2 capsules, once a day with food. And we say with food actually to help protect the acid resistant capsule. So we want this, if you remember, we mentioned that Akkermansia lives in the colon, an oxygen free environment. So we need it to go through digestion, through the stomach, survive the stomach acid, make its way through the small intestine and down to the colon. So it has a long journey. And by taking the capsules with food, it helps to protect the capsule a little bit more from the stomach acid. And then it's a timely
Great idea.
capsule. Yeah. Yep.
It's a good tip. Yeah.
And then I know you also have a GLP-1 product that's come out recently too.
We do. Yes. And I always like to point out that it's called GLP-1. And we became so excited when the rest of the world wanted to start talking about GLP-1. We were like, wait, is this really happening? This is the work that we've been doing since Pendulum's inception. Like, we've been looking at Akkermansia and some of these other butyrate producing organisms and their exact effect on the GLP-1 hormone, because GLP-1 is made in the gut. And so it was like thrilling. We were just all abuzz internally. Like, we have to get the word out. Like, we have to let people know that this is possible naturally, right? Like, I sort of think about, like, giving your body back the tools that it needs to perform these functions that it's supposed to being performed naturally. So this is really like, if you're looking to get to the root cause of your insulin resistance, of your, your stubborn weight gain that you just can't seem to lose, then this really is a piece of that puzzle. And so the GLP-1 it's you'll see a lot of crossover in some of our products. It's very similar to the glucose control, but it isolates out the 2 most important strains for GLP-1 production in the gut. And the 2 strains that are in that product are Akkermansia, star of all of our shows, and then its counterpart, Clostridium butyricum. So I call those 2 Batman and Robin. And they both stimulate GLP-1 in a variety of ways. So not just in one way, but there are a couple of different pathways that these strains are helping to increase GLP-1 production in the gut naturally.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's great.
But yeah, that's certainly fascinating to hear that about that. But yeah, that it's so, there's so many things that disrupt our gut these days and create so much dysbiosis, and these bacteria just, they thrive off, each other. They have to be in balance, and so many things that we do, from our dry air nutrition to environmental toxins to even exercise, our lack of, that all that stuff plays into it. When you have problems with your gut, then a lot of things kind of trickle down and cause problems downstream. So
yeah, absolutely.
that's
Yeah, like you mentioned toxins in our food. That's a really something that I've always known, but I've really woken up to here recently. That there's just, even if you're buying organic, I think I just want to grow my own food now.
right.
It's just so much.
I know.
Yes.
It's unavoidable. And yeah, so like clean air, clean water, clean food, like that's
pesticide free, herbicide free, etc. So
Yeah, I think one of the great things about gut health and companies like Pendulum is that it affects so many different aspects of our life. I'm looking through some of the studies that you guys are doing, and it's about mental health. It's about, all these different aspects of your life. Is there one study in particular that stands out to you as really exciting right now?
Absolutely. The gut-brain axis is the most interesting to me. It's really complicated, but we do have a study in bipolar depression 1 and 2, and they're actually studying the glucose control. So the very formulation that was being studied for lowering A1C and after meal glucose spikes is now being studied for bipolar depression. And so there's a lot there. Akkermansia has been thought to be a GABA producer. And so GABA is associated with the feelings of calm and less anxiety. There was a study in mice recently where Akkermansia was compared to Prozac, and Akkermansia actually outperformed Prozac. So there's a lot there when you start considering how the gut, which is referred to as the second brain, how it influences our brain health. And sometimes I think that we don't give ourselves enough credit or enough grace, that sometimes, maybe the lack of willpower, or, just the bad food choices that you're making, it could be related to your gut. It could be related to the organisms that are living in the gut. That this is kind of creepy, but they're sending signals to the brain, like what they need to survive. And I just find that fascinating, because
it's amazing.
it is just, it's wild. And some people will, one of the number one things that we hear, people, they don't even understand really what's happening, but they write into us and say things like, I enjoy eating salads now. Like I never did before, but ever since taking your products, like I like crave salads, or, I'm reaching for fruits and vegetables as a snack, and that's just not me. Or like I can eat 2 cookies and walk away. Like I don't feel like the cookie monster anymore. And that can largely be attributed to, I think, a change in the balance of the microbes in the gut. You have these organisms in there now that they need polyphenols and they need fiber. And so they're telling your brain, hey, this is what we need.
Eat these things.
Yeah.
Which you guys also have a product, the polyphenol booster.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we do. So Akkermansia, its energy source is very strictly polyphenols. And so I think that's probably one of the reasons why it goes missing in so many people, is because if it's not fed properly, then it just can't survive.
Yeah. And for the listeners, polyphenols, colored vegetables and fruits, essentially. That's where you find that. The colored stuff. That's polyphenols.
Yes. Antioxidant rich foods. And so our Akkermansia strain in particular, we did an in vitro study to look at, does it have a preference in terms of, which polyphenols it prefers, which ones really help it to thrive and grow and colonize. There are many different kinds of Akkermansia strains that exist. Our strain in particular preferred green tea extract, red grape seed, and pomegranate. So if you're able to get those in your diet, that's all the better. But if not, then obviously, of course, it's available in supplement form.
Excellent.
That's awesome. But I don't know anything else that we can think of. Any future developments, anything down the line that you all are excited about potentially coming out in the future?
Yeah, we're not stopping with Akkermansia. So we have another novel strain on the horizon, one that has not been available in the marketplace. And so in 2026, we will launch a product with a new strain. And I think that's really the future of probiotic supplementation. For antibiotics, we have very specific drugs that, will help with certain infections. And I think that that's the future of probiotics. We'll look at the gut microbiome, we'll look at symptoms, and we'll be able to recommend certain strains that can help with those very specific disease states.
Yeah. So,
that's amazing.
Yeah, that's what I like about Pendulum. I think they've got the research and the studies to back the products up. And, it's not just about trace elements or minerals that you can support gut health with. I mean, you need to replenish this stuff, and that's the bacteria need to be there. And so that's what I like about Pendulum, is you're feeding the good guys.
Yeah. I think that one thing that you mentioned about the antibiotics is that, sometimes we do have to take antibiotics. There is. And you guys have a great protocol for folks who've had to be on antibiotics with your products to kind of help them get through that, because we all know that antibiotics can disrupt our gut and we need to repair after we
and
get
protocols
finished
for the people that maybe they're finishing or they're getting off of GLP-1 agonists, and there's ways to support that gut health to kind of ease that transition for people too.
Absolutely.
So-
Yes. I used to be in the camp of, wait till your antibiotics are finished and then start your probiotic. But research has recently shown that it's actually helpful to take the probiotics during your course of antibiotics to help protect, repair, from symptoms and things like that. But then also you have a greater survival of some of these good bacteria in the gut post-antibiotic use if you incorporate probiotics at the same time. So
Right.
I'm on
Yeah.
that side of the fence now.
Yeah, that's what I do too. When I write prescriptions for antibiotics for people, I'll always recommend probiotics.
Yep.
For them to be taken, even in the younger population, even kids and small youngsters, toddlers, they benefit from it too.
Oh yeah,
The
absolutely.
more antibiotics we take, unfortunately over the years, the more problems we're going to have, chronic disease production. So
Yep, absolutely. That's what the research is showing.
Yep, exactly.
Well, this has been so lovely. I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today and give us this introduction, and looking forward to everything Pendulum has to come.
Yeah, and as far as what the people can do to reach out to you all to try to get more information about, you may want to let everybody know where they can find out information about your all's products.
Sure. Our website is pendulumlife.com, and we're available to consumers, but then we're also available to healthcare practitioners like yourselves.
Yeah. So we always try to educate the people, and that's what it's all about. It's trying to get everybody a little bit more educated about what's out there and available. So
I love it. It's so great. It's an honor to be a guest. Thank you, guys.
yeah, we really appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Rev Up Health. We hope you're leaving with some valuable insights to supercharge your health journey.
Don't forget to follow or subscribe to Rev Up Health wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a rating and review.
Have a topic you want us to explore? Reach out to us on social media channels. We love hearing from our wellness community.
Until next time, keep thriving, and remember, your journey to health is a journey to a better you.
Stay well, and we'll connect with you again soon. This is Tandi.
And this is Dr. Mark, signing off from Rev Up Health. Take care.
The information provided in this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not intended as medical advice. The content is designed to support, not replace, the relationship that exists between a patient and their healthcare provider. Always consult with a qualified healthcare professional before making any changes to your healthcare regimen, including diet, exercise, or treatment plans. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Revolution Health and Wellbeing.